You're listening to Let's Stay Together Anime Break, the sub-series of Let's Stay Together where we talk about the 2019 anime Fruits Basket. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're discussing Season 2, Episode 13, which was called Sure Thing.
Woo.
Woo! For a second I thought that was, I was supposed to read that in Hattori's voice first, because I got my wires crossed with the last episode. It's fine. We're going to do our summary, then spoiler-free discussion, then spoilery discussion, like we always do. So let's do those things. This episode covered Chapter 66 and Chapter 73 of the manga, so they were in separate episodes in our podcast. One was in our episode 34, which was called I Won't Stop Trying, and episode 38, which was called The Enemy That I Should Be Fighting Is Always Inside Myself. So,
Dramatic.
Yeah. I liked that line a lot, actually, but it resonated with me. These chapters were pretty, or like this episode was a pretty like direct take from those two chapters, so
yep.
I don't know. Yeah, it was good. Anyway, let's do the summary. The episode opens at school after the kids return from summer break. Uo smacks Kyo in the forehead to compare their height and complains that he grew over the summer and that boys just keep growing. Kyo says that she didn't get any more womanly over the break, and then while Uo threatens that the next time she sees convenience store man Kureno, she'll beat him up, and Hana says to Toru that she has the look of a woman scorned, and Toru agrees. Hana asks Kyo and reminds us that Denpa isn't magic. So basically everything is status quo in Class 2D. After the credits, Motoko Minagawa and her lackeys in the Prince Yuki fan club present Yuki with a souvenir from the summer. He apologizes because he has nothing to give in return, but nonetheless Motoko. God damn
Mixing
it!
them up and they're not even both there.
I stared at the text and I listened to myself and I was like, that doesn't sound right. Do you ever have an out-of-body experience when you're talking, or is it just me?
It's your spirit like floating above going, no.
No. Yeah, I mean, isn't that like every embarrassing experience? I imagine my spirit just flying out of my mouth like an anime. It's like, no. What's going on? Nonetheless, Motoko and Minami, who's the pig-haired girl, I don't know if people remember their names. It took me a while to remember her name since we haven't talked about them in a while. They get all sweat up in their heads with a swell of dramatic music and shoujo poses and loving prose until Yuki snaps them out of it. And to their horror, the third girl with them is like, who gives? And asks what Yuki did over the summer. Their conversation is interrupted by a temptress from another class who supposedly seduces men with her looks. The girl asks if she can have some of the treats that they brought and calls Yuki Yoon, much to the absolute horror of the fangirls who sass her. Did you see that my note has a sparkly heart?
I did.
Okay. I needed to remind myself.
That's how she says all her dialogue.
Pretty much. That's how it's said in the manga. There's like little hearts in every speech bubble that she says, which is great. Minami demands to know if the girl is mocking them, and she's like, you could tell? But before more blows can be exchanged, Yuki escorts the girl away and sasses her for laughing at the Prince Yuki fangirls. He asks her what's with the weird nickname, and she says that she's not the first person who used it. Oh, there he is. Yoon! Kakeru Manabe, the vice president of the student council, calls from the doorway of the council room, much to Yuki's chagrin. There's no doubt that he's the culprit, Yuki thinks bitterly, and Kakeru asks him about his summer, then completely ignores Yuki, asking about the nickname, and then talks about how great his summer was. The mysterious girl comes over and gives Kakeru a tiny slap on the face and says Yuki doesn't like the nickname that he gave him. And Kakeru's like, oh really? Isn't it cute? And Kakeru throws open the student council room door, shouting, hey, I brought our leader! And the girl we met before, the beach arc, Machi, and another boy inside the room stare in silence. This was a wonderful part. Yuki remembers meeting Machi before summer break, remembering the mess and her recoiling from his touch. The boy introduces himself as the secretary, Naohito Sakuragi, and says that he initially turned down the job, but took it after he found out that Yuki would be president. Remember this, he says, you're my right. He's your first love? Kakeru shouts and cuts him off with a karate chop to the noggin. Do your best, shorty, and now argues that he's not a shorty, and Kibi fully introduces herself in the same cutesy way that she teased the Prince Yuki fan club girls before. Kakeru says that her cuteness is an act, but she punches him in the gut before he can say anything more about her.
I loved how her voice changed.
Yes!
From her high-pitched cutesy thing to this shut up, he doesn't need to know.
No. Kimi sounds to me like someone who smokes pretty frequently, which is hilarious. I don't know what it is. She has the kind of rough voice, especially in that one scene. I think it's on purpose. It's great. Yuki dejectedly wonders how he'll be able to lead such a crazy group of kids. Kakeru asks him to say a few words. He clenches his fist and pulls himself together to make a little speech. He promised himself at the beach that he wouldn't run from his problems anymore. He says, I'm Yuki Soma, the president. I believe that we all need to work together to do our duties as a student council. There are many things that I lack as president, but I assure you that I will work hard. So I hope that you will all work together with me. Sure thing, Kakeru says with a big smile. All right, let's have fun and do this together, he says, then immediately falls asleep, and Nao sasses him. At school another day, Yuki thinks that the student council is full of troublemakers. He narrates that Kimi seems to instigate conflict intentionally, which is demonstrated by her getting into another sass-off with the Prince Yuki fan club. Nao is always on edge, he thinks, which is demonstrated by him getting annoyed about the student council sign being covered by a school defense force sign. I love that it was taped on, which was hilarious. Kakeru is the biggest troublemaker of all, Yuki thinks, as Kakeru takes a nap on the gardening club's bags of potting soil while he and Yuki make the rounds greeting all the clubs. Afterward, Kakeru complains about having to do this, and Yuki explains that this is to help them support the clubs by seeing where they work and understanding what they need. Yuki says there's no point in the student council if they can't benefit the rest of the students, and Kakeru argues that the school defense force does help them by defending them from villains. And Yuki's like, what? And he's like, we're recruiting villains. Their argument is interrupted by some of Kakeru's friends asking him to play soccer with them, and while they gab, Yuki thinks about how rough dealing with Kakeru is. He's like Yame and Kyo. People naturally gather around him. It's like he glows with a light that I don't possess, Yuki thinks. Later in the council room, Nao has removed Kakeru's beautiful handmade school defense force sign, so they fight about it. Kimi also returns with Machi, wheeling in a brand new whiteboard that Kimi sweet-talked a teacher into giving her. Kakeru remembers that he has something important to discuss and immediately sullies a new whiteboard with color assignments for the school defense force. Nao shakes with rage. Kimi points out that Union should be red because he's the leader, and Kakeru says that he'll be black. It's cool and stoic. I appear standing on a tree when the other members are in a pinch. Twig in mouth and sunset are optional. In a pinch, Yuki says. You're cool, Nao says. Kakeru tries to assign yellow to Nao, then asks which of the girls wants to be pink. Machi says nothing, and Kimi complains loudly that pink is better for her. She likes it, so it has to be her. Yuki tells her to chill. Then she flops to the floor and freaks out that he won't call her Kimi, even though they ate snacks together. She's like... It's so good.
Everything about this is amazing.
The whole thing is great. While everyone else argues, Yuki asks what color Machi likes. She responds at first with shocked silence, as if no one ever asked her about her preference for anything before, and then huh? Kakeru takes notice and asks him to call Machi by her first name too, and Kimi says that she should ask like she did, and Machi stands up to start, but Yuki's like, you don't have to! They continue to argue about colors, and Kimi says Machi wants yellow, isn't that right? And then shakes her to nod her head in agreement. Yuki starts to think that he should get things under control because it's getting out of hand, but suddenly Kakeru pounds the whiteboard with a fist. What's wrong with you guys? Causing such a ruckus over colors, he says. It's idiotic to be discussing color assignments in the first place. And he's met with complete silence. And then Yuki takes charge by crossing out black and writing swamp brown as Kakeru's color while Kakeru sobs apologies. At the end of the day, the other members say goodbye to Yuki and take off. And he looks at the whiteboard again, focusing on the leader, Union, written in the bottom right-hand corner. Out on the steps, Kakeru notices Kyo and Toru walking away together. Yuki, meanwhile, returns to the gardening club and offers to carry some seedlings somewhere for them. He runs into Kakeru in the courtyard while carrying them. Kakeru brings up Toru. They're not walking home together today. He says that she's secretly popular because of Yuki. Do you like her? He asks, and Yuki is like, why? Kakeru says it might be a bittersweet love. That orange-headed guy kind of looks like her boyfriend. Yeah, Yuki says, and Kakeru's like, what? Am I right? I knew it! Makes sense. I mean, that Kyo kid looks happier than you, Union, he says, and Yuki stops in his tracks. So I look unhappy? Is it fun to go on about who looks happy and who looks unhappy? Is it fun to compare who's happier and see who's better? Does it make you happy? Kakeru kicks the tray of plants out from under Yuki's arm. Shut up, he says. Why the hell are you getting so pissed? And Yuki's like, you're the one who's getting pissed. Kakeru's like, I'm not pissed. I got annoyed from that arrogant lecture of yours. And Yuki says it's the same. And Kakeru's like, what are you, my mom? And they continue to argue and grab each other's collars. Blockhead, Yuki shouts, and Kakeru's like, fine, better than someone who pretends to know everything. I know that's the kind of person I am, Yuki shouts. That's right. I was lecturing myself just now, so sorry. I instantly compare myself to others and almost lose myself to how inferior I feel, he thinks. Another part of me whispers in my ear that maybe he would make a better president, not me. I immediately try to run away with my weak thoughts. Yeah, Yuki says, releasing Kakeru's shirt. I'm the one who got pissed. Sorry. The biggest troublemaker of all, Yuki thinks, is me. To me, I'm the villain. The enemy I should be fighting is always within me. Yuki starts to pick up the plants, and Kakeru comes over and sits beside him. Hey, Kakeru says. Where should I look so that I can see the same thing as you? How can I see someone else's perspective and understand their feelings before I hurt them? You said the exact same thing as her. You surprised me and it annoyed me. I just never learn. The girl from the gardening club happens upon them and freaks out at the state of the seedlings, and Kakeru says that he'll take responsibility and replant them. There's no point in a student council unless we benefit the rest of the students, right, leader? He says with a smile. You murmured so humbly, Yuki thinks, remembering Kakeru saying that he's jealous. It made me want to cry. He stands and turns away and tells Kakeru to take care of it himself, and Kakeru protests. I frantically held in my tears, Yuki thinks. The next day at school, Kakeru bows deeply to Kyo and apologizes. I regret my actions. I won't do such a rude thing again. Who are you? What are you talking about? Kyo says, and Kakeru's like, well then bye, and then takes off. Kyo shouts after him, and his classmate friend sasses him for not recognizing the vice president. Kakeru catches up with Yuki and bonks him on the shoulder in a chummy way, and Yuki thinks, if we can gain an understanding of one another like this despite conflict, I'm starting to think that being with others might not be such a bad thing. Then we cut to the credits.
Aww.
Yay! I ship it. I mean, what? I was like, this is real ship teasy, even though they're not. Whatever, I shouldn't say that since we're in non-spoilers, I guess. It was ship teasy, I guess. But they're good friends, regardless. Or I think it seems like they're going to become good friends based on this episode.
They're on the path to friendship.
Or more. I mean, I can say whatever I want. This is our podcast, right?
Stay tuned for our Fruits Basket fanfic podcast.
Stay tuned for our like other podcasts. It's like called Ellen and Kayla's Basket and other Furuba or whatever. That's what would happen in Kimi's Basket. They would definitely be a couple in Kimi's Basket because it's like the most amount of drama. Oh, nobody knows about Kimi's Basket yet. That's a continuity joke from our manga series. My bad. Now I have to cut everything. What am I saying today? Anyway, I noticed they didn't change the theme song like I was anticipating they would.
No, but they did add Kureno to the reflection scenes.
Oh, I did notice that I was like, oh, Kureno's there in a cell phone, and I just thought I'd missed it before, so I didn't realize they added that. Oh, okay, that's good. Well.
Yeah, I was like, I think that's new, and then I went back and checked one that from the earlier ones, and I was like, yep, that's new. He used to just have Rin in that scene, so.
That's right, because he's the burb.
Yes,
as was revealed.
The burb of the Zodiac.
I like that, it was like, that guy from the convenience store. It's like, we know so much more about Kureno now, but like, Toru doesn't know that his name, Toru doesn't.
Yeah, she still doesn't know his name from Uo, I think.
From Uo.
So.
Yeah, so we know that that's who it was, but they don't know the other one knows him.
Yeah. They don't know that I don't know that.
It's called dramatic irony, and it's great. They had one thing that I just deliberately removed because it was hard to fit it into like the things that were happening is from my summary is that this also had the girls kind of like swooning in the background. It's a 3 beat. I don't know if we talked about this before in this way, but I didn't realize it until this time because I was like, I think they just showed them 3 times, but it's when Yuki is walking by himself and he's thinking about how everyone's in the student council is troublemakers and he passes by some girls and they're like swooning a little. Then when they're walking through the courtyard together arguing about the role of the student council, they pass some girls and the same thing happens. And then after their fight, Kakeru apologizes to Kyo. Wait, no. After their fight and after Kakeru apologizes to Kyo, but before they kind of like meet up in the hallway, Yuki passes them, passes some girls again. We talked about the girls relatively, not about them, but like about what this is intended to show, I think, pretty significantly at the time, because I remember we talked about how like it's sort of ironic that people see the Somas as being like super like beautiful and whatever, but then they can't like get physically close to anyone, like they can't get close to anyone, and we were talking about maybe, I think we had speculated about why it's represented that way, or like what that is used to represent in the story. Do you remember this?
Not really.
Okay, good, because I don't remember that much about it either, but I remember we talked about it. I think we just talked about how like this, it's sort of ironic how like Yuki feels like pretty, the thing I think that's interesting about it is like these are the scenes where Yuki's thinking about his kind of like inferiority and about how he's not able to like deal with the troublemaker kids, and that he's also kind of like a troublemaker. And they're seen again when they argue. It's kind of like, I guess it's shown here as a way to show how Yuki's kind of like idolized by everyone, but he feels super kind of like inferior himself. He has a different perspective on how, not what he feels isn't reality, but I think it just like draws a bit of more of a contrast of what he's feeling internally versus the way that other people see him. And I think the interesting thing about having it at the end where Kakeru comes up and meets up with him is like they don't, I don't know, it's kind of showing how he can become close to someone too, because like the reason that everyone sort of idolizes him is more because of his kind of like external appearance, I guess, and kind of his aloofness. Like that's why he's so popular, right? So as opposed to someone like Kakeru who saw something about his personality and his like empathy that he doesn't have, and that said that he was jealous about it, and is also someone who can support Yuki emotionally. Like how I always like the scene where Yuki gives his like sort of semi-depressing speech that he's like, I'm not a very good leader, but yeah, anyway, let's do this. And then Kakeru's like, sure thing. Like it's very supportive. Like I guess he can maybe tell that Yuki feels kind of insecure about it. I don't know. So despite being an asshole to him and saying that he doesn't understand people later, but
yeah, I do think there's like a contrast between like the like kind of distant idolization that people have for Yuki compared to the like close, easy friendship that he like wishes he could have.
Yeah.
And then like Kakeru like coming up and like tapping him on the shoulder at the end and is kind of like showing that gap starting to be bridged.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for explaining that in a way that wasn't just like a bunch of words. I appreciated that because I was like, I can't explain what I'm trying to say right now. I don't know what we're gonna do later when we record the next episode.
I got what you were going for.
All right, good. Thank you. I hope everybody else did. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice touch. Like it was again, like it was in the manga. Like I didn't really, I don't remember specifically the points in the story that they show up, but I think like when they show up here is important. We can look at it as being sort of important too, as a way to show that contrast. So. I thought that was interesting. It stood out to me more. Sometimes things like stand out more in the anime than they do in the manga.
Yeah. I also like them making that like ending bit kind of its own like full scene. Because like it was just kind of one of those little like ending pictures in the manga.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, oh look, they're gonna be friends kind of thing, but like showing like the animation of him like just coming up to him in the hallway and tapping him and like just grinning when he turns to look at him.
Yeah.
It's a nice little scene that kind of showed how that relationship's starting to form now.
It also does a better job of like kind of echoing the beginning of that part of the episode because he's walking down the hall alone during at the very beginning, and then he's walking down the hall alone again. But then Kakeru comes and like meets up with him. So yeah,
he's got a friend.
A friend who's not his mom. I mean, yes. Yes, I have a note. My note just says this episode did a good job of portraying Yuki's feelings of inadequacy, which was kind of, but not like, it's related to what we were just talking about, but it's also like his internal monologue, and I think the way that it's like acted, the way he like voice acts, I think it does a good job.
Yeah, there are also a couple little like subtle like changes from the manga that I liked for that kind of effect. Like they added in like a little bit of his like hand shaking after he made his speech and before Kakeru chimes in, and like the little bit like when everyone's leaving and he looks at the board. It's like as they're leaving and they're all like, you know, saying like bye Yuki, see you tomorrow kind of stuff. He kind of hesitates. He's like, oh bye, like he's not used to being like part of a group that is that like casual.
Yeah, they just
like greeting and saying goodbye and everything,
and just casually accepting him. Like they don't. He thinks it's gonna be awful, and like he can't work with them or whatever, and it's really hard. But they're just like, cool, yeah, bye, see you tomorrow. Like it's no big deal that they have to work together. That it's gonna be a positive experience. I guess.
Like he's immediately part of this team, even if he still feels like an outsider who, like, you know, doesn't know how to people yet. But like as far as they're concerned, you know, he's their leader. He's part of their team.
He's the leader and he's part of the team. Yeah, it's true. And yeah, he does like linger on that part of the whiteboard, which I remember it being the whiteboard was there in the manga, but I think like specifically the way and they like leave also emphasizes that. Yeah. Yeah. It's cute how they're all like bye bye, like they say one by one, and he's kind of like, oh, people are saying bye to me, like yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, there's definitely like this is an unfamiliar situation to me.
Yeah.
Like feeling to that.
So sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that. It was good. Kimi was great as predicted.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Kimi and Now are both really good.
I love how short Now is.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not short. It's like he's tiny. Like, relatively speaking.
Yeah, and he has like exactly the voice I would expect him to have. Like.
Overly serious it's like trying to have a deep voice, child voice. Like, it's funny. Yeah.
Just
kind of annoying.
Everything about the student council scenes is amazing. I've wanted this for like years, like,
Yes.
because they're so lively, like every time they're around. So it
so
works
much
so
yelling.
well to see them animated and voiced. Like,
there was the whole scene of them where they're picking their colors. There was like constant screaming.
Yeah.
So like even in Yuki's inner monologue, there's just a thing texture in the background where it says like blah blah blah, and he's just like, oh my god, I can't deal with this. Like, it's so good. And yeah, there's always so much going on. Like, there's so much like first two people are talking to each other, and then there's like another thing happening over here, and then like Yuki, they do a good job where Yuki like talks to Machi, and then there's the argument happening still. Like, it's something that doesn't, like, it's, you can tell that's what's supposed to be happening in the manga, but it doesn't come across as clearly as in the anime. So it's helped by the anime. Sure. Yes, I agree with you. I did also love the little tiny scene with Yuki and Machi too, where she's just so shocked. Where she's like, like I remember we also talked about in this where he asks her what she wants, and it's like nobody ever asked her what she wanted before. But I also feel like in the anime in that very like several seconds of her reaction, you can tell that that's what's happening, which is nice. So
which made it kind of a nice parallel to like Yuki's like kind of hesitation on like saying goodbye with the like, I'm not used to this, I'm not used to people being friendly and around me kind of thing, like,
and just like immediately friendly and not suspicious and not having, like, I guess everybody in the family who he's used to being around, they all have their, I mean, like, Akito's terrifying, and then Kyo and Yuki they're constantly fighting. Everybody, but then like Akito also said that everybody hates Yuki because has a, like a revered position or whatever, so he has reason to think that everybody secretly hates him deep down. So you have these like kids where they're just like, hey, what up, leader, yo, like, let's do this student council thing, let's have fun, and they don't really
there's no baggage, no ulterior motives, no
yeah so you can tell, I think that comes across well in the episode, which is nice.
So happy that the wider public will now know about Union and the School Defense Force and
Kimi.
I
had to make my notes so that I would know how to say Union.
I also like that, just that it's like written, you can see Union written all over the board where instead of Yuki.
Yes. He's like, I have a feeling this name's gonna stick, and it's like, it's already stuck. I don't know what you're talking about.
It is stuck, yeah,
it's happened already.
Yeah. Also, like, it's a slightly different line from the manga when Kakeru's starting to write the stuff on the board. Yuki says like, I don't get it, but it looks like this is going to be pointless.
Yes. Now I was like, that's pointless, and Yuki's like, I don't get it. But it does look like it's gonna be pointless. Now didn't do very much except be annoying, but that's fine. That's kind of as expected.
He's on edge, as Yuki says. That's his role.
I feel like I think I said before that he's the Kyo when Kyo's not there. Like, someone to be, like, freaking out all the time and be bitter. Yeah.
I love it. It's another thing. It's the same from the manga, but just the animation enhances it, of him being like, don't drag me into this stupid stuff. And then he's like, okay, you're yellow. And he's like, don't just decide for me.
Yes. He's like, you're yellow, like curry. And he's like, why curry? Like, I like how they all get dragged into, like, they're all like, this is dumb. And then even Yuki's like, what about this? And what about that? Like, what color do you want to be? And stuff. Yeah, it's cute. Well, I have a couple spoilery things I think we could talk about, maybe. So next time we're going to talk about episode 14, which is called I Should Just Die. Actually, wait, that had too much chutzpah. Should be like, I should just die. Maybe. Thank you all for listening. Next time we'll see you for episode 14.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I didn't do it right. That's what happened, right? I don't know who I am today. Okay. The spoilers, here are the things that I have to talk about. The she that Kakeru is referencing is Komaki.
Yep.
His girlfriend. I also don't remember how much we talked about this in our last episode, but it's interesting in their fight, because I remember we had talked a long time ago in one of our manga episodes about a fight that Kyo and Yuki have, and I was like, I hate their fucking fights, but this one is interesting. I think it's the Jason one, or like the time where their time where they're at their lake house. because it revealed some things about their insecurities. And I think like this one's also interesting. I'm pretty sure we didn't talk about it when we talked about this episode in the manga, but this also hints at some of Kakeru's family issues too, because he's like, what are you, my mom? Like that's what he starts to argue with too. So their fight is also one of those fights where it's not really about them. I mean, Yuki says it himself, but
Yeah.
Kakeru is just as, he doesn't say that, but I think that his dialogue hints at that too.
Yeah.
Which I didn't notice before until watching this.
Yeah, and we also started to get a little of the Kakeru Toru connection.
Oh right, because he's like creeping.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come across. It doesn't. It's because then he goes to. It's like he's asking, he's asking Yuki because he's seen her with Yuki. Like, so it doesn't seem like that, but it does. It's the beginning of that too.
Yeah, and they changed it slightly where he sees her with Kyo instead. So.
But he does say the same line where he's like, "Yeah, it seems like it's a." That she's interested.
Yeah, it's
in
like
Kyo.
The way he brings it up is still enough to like obscure that he has like a personal interest in Toru as a person rather than as she relates to Yuki. So.
That's right. He hasn't said anything about being interested in her yet. Oh, of course, now I've said that Yuki's his rival, so I guess they'll have the, like, Motoko stuff later. Look at Now's confession, his true heart. The one that's, like, covered in ice or whatever. It's covered in whatever is represented, whatever grumpiness is symbolized by.
Chili powder.
Like he's spicy. It's coated with Doritos. I mean... And then I guess next time is going to be the Haru and Rin stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, well, I guess I should just die then. And she's like, no.
Yeah, because there's like Haru being a drama llama.
Yeah. He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
A drama llama. Where are you? Are you calling from the year 2002?
Yeah, rhyming slang never goes out of style.
That's true. You mean rhyming puns? And slang? Yeah. I'm like, name one other rhyming slang.
Like Cockney rhyming slang?
Like what? What Cockney rhyming slang?
You don't know? That's a thing. It's like, no, I'm not going to be able to explain it. You're going to have to look it up. But it's like where they substitute words for other words, like, because of, like, they say, like, things. You'll have to look up Cockney rhyming slang because I can't even think of an example at the moment. Language is funny.
I like it. That's my favorite part. That's why I talk about Japanese so much on this podcast. There's so much. Okay, anyway. What the hell were we talking about?
Haru being a drama llama.
Oh. Wow. Well, anyway, yeah, that's gonna happen next time. Are there any other spoilers from this episode? I don't
think so.
I think we kind of talked about all of them. Well, it's just, I guess Yuki and Machi are going to be a thing. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Because he noticed her and included her.
And not Yuki and Kakeru, unfortunately.
What? Don't shatter my dreams. This is Ellen and Kayla's basket.
That's only what canon says.
Whoa. Well.
We don't have to follow those rules.
Well, there's death of the author. We can do what we want. I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway. I did think that they presented it in kind of a... like a more... Their relationship is presented in a shoujo-y, relationship-y kind of way. So it feels like ship teasy in a way to me. So it seems like that. They have like a whole bubbly... when he comes and bonks on his shoulder, that's like a super bubbly thing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess
maybe
you
be.
just...
I maintain that.
Yeah. But I also guess that maybe you just like don't see a lot of like relationships presented in that way, like friendships presented in that way in anime.
I guess not in shoujo very much.
Not
you
much.
get a lot of like, you get a lot of the like believe in me who believes in you male friendships in shonen, but
yeah, like I guess maybe that's why. I don't know. It just has like a like the it uses the visual language of like a. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's the same as the rest of their friendships. Like, probably, like, Kakeru and Toru's and, like, you know, other people. They haven't done have they done Uenohana's backstories? Did I forget already?
Yeah, they have.
They have.
We commented on the Hana and Toru stuff in particular being quite gay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, because she was like, I love you. Yes.
They're like grasping hands and crying.
And crying. Yeah.
Very emotional
They're
stuff.
one step away from kissing, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's just like the whole... I guess like...
Like heightened shoujo
Yeah.
emotional stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it makes you primed to see them as potential relationships, you know? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, they're not. We talked about that before. It's fine.
Yeah.
Quite gay. Yes, correct.
I think if I went back in my notes, I would have one note that just said gay.
Gay.
For that episode.
It's not unlikely, because it totally is.
Yeah.
Just wait till Rin cries on Toru.
It's more supported than some of the canon ships.
That's true. Are you saying that Ugo and Convenience Store Man aren't a thing? Oh wait, that's controversial.
Like Ritsu and Mii-chan.
They have their meet cute though. They got a whole extra scene in the anime, so that's good.
Yeah, the anime gave them some more material.
Yes.
Which is good. They needed some more material.
I appreciated. Yeah, because it's very little in the manga, so. Anyway. Right, good. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad we got to ship tease.
Yes.
We're coming to the end of our ship teasing in the manga, so we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can. You know, you never know.
Just continue to point out all the shippy stuff in the anime.
But yeah, we can continue to point things out in the anime. It'll be fun. Okay. So next time we'll talk about this Haru and Rin stuff, I think, which will be interesting.
Yep.
Finally get more Rin.
Hey.
Yay.
It'll be fun to see more of her. We haven't seen very much of her in the anime yet.
No, she was just creeping around at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Significantly creeping. Like, it's still, at this point in the story, she's just like a weird creeper, you know?
Yeah.
Who's like, we know that she's Haru's ex, but then like she was also like hitting up Shigure and...
Yeah, it's like creeping around and told Toru not to call a doctor.
That's right. She was like, don't tell anyone, don't, or I'll kill you, actually.
Yeah. And then grumped at Shisho, and that's about
That's
all I've
right,
seen.
without taking off her shoes.
Yes, very rude.
Unfair. Good. Well, on that note, thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yuki starts to pick up the plants, and Kakeru comes over and sits beside him.
Just freestyling it.
I don't know. It's like my eyes are looking at the document and I'm just saying something completely different. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a seizure.
Shouldn't have watched that Pokemon episode.
I know. What the hell was I doing?